This conference will now be recorded.
Sutter, that's it. See, that's solder is what I said. So it's Sutter. Suter.
Because they need
You do it yourself. Hey, you guys ready? Sean, Melissa, you guys ready?
We missed you last meeting.
I missed you every time you're not there.
Clerk, please start the recording. Today is Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, and I'd like to call today's City Council meeting to order. If we could all please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Councilmember Fox,
Present.
Councilmember Kasberg,
Present.
Councilmember Boyle,
Here.
Councilmember Leija,
Present.
Councilmember Cerveny,
Present.
Mayor Strobin.
Here. Thank you. All right. Clerk, can you please call up any public comments from the audience?
Jim Irish,
Thank you. My name is Jim Irish, 1653 East Heritage Loop, Center, Washington. Council and Chief Richardson, I have something to bring up to consider. I know that we're working with the tribe on bringing the police force in hand, and that things aren't going as fast as some citizens, including myself, would like to see happen. But there's something I have to ask, is what would be the possibility of the council agreeing with me and having the police chief and the Cowboys tribe work together to form a citizens group to help on this upcoming season, anyway, Halloween, where you have hundreds of kids and parents out on the street, and we don't want any trouble, any problems as far as bullying or whatever, that it would. In the past, we've had patrol cars going around and handing out candy and stuff like that, being nice. It's all fun and it's all good, but I think the kids and the parents need to know that we have the support of the city to have a citizens group out there. And I don't mean random. I mean working with the chief in order to get some background and some, what you can and can't do, but mainly to support our citizens, our kids. And that's what you were all elected for, was to represent the city, not individual groups, which you don't, you work very good at it. The second thing is, and I know we have tried by everything else, and that's when they're working up there at Woodland on the bridge, and some of the diversification of the traffic that comes through here. We need to do something with the city of Woodland, if possible, of when they really start backing up on the back of the only road going into Woodland without I-5, of flowing that traffic so that you're not sitting there trying to get into the city, of which some people start taking some disastrous turns, to flow, see if we can flow it easier, get better flow. There have been 2 cars I know of that have almost been run off the road by oversized vehicles, flagged and lighted oversized vehicles traveling on the back road to where the cars had pulled over. And we only have a foot from the white line until you go into the trench. And some of them, they've been really, at least a couple cars that I know, because I helped talk to one of them. But anyway, just what we can do to see about getting that a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Kimberly,
Hi, Kimberly Goheen, Elba, and life citizen of Clark County, Washington. I'm not here by choice. I believe when we vote for council members, they must serve in the best interest of the people. But when our local government chooses agendas that actually dictate and control the people, such as using hard-earned tax dollars by criminal Joe Biden and his American Rescrew plan, the La Center budget involves this rescrew plan, and the growth management plan also follows the United Nations agenda. I've asked before to get out of the Growth Management Act. Clark County had a chance to do so. They did not. That's because they're a Democratic run, and I don't even want to use the word Democratic because, frankly, it used to be a decent party. I used to be a party of it about 40 years ago. This is bigger than that. People need to wake up. So life just simply goes on while we in this little town explode with homes and people wanting a country setting, yet turns the very country setting into overpopulation. I've been, excuse me, didn't bring my glasses. I've been okay with some growth, but the Growth Management Act allows for illegal immigrants, and local complying governments must call them displaced migrants. With our open border and millions of illegal immigrants coming into our country, and with what's happening with Israel right now, we need to pay attention that there are sleeper cells here, thanks to Joe Biden. And they will be called on to terrorize American citizens as Israel is being bombarded on all sides. Criminal Joe Biden, from day one, undermined the Constitution and the free nation and the people of America. Citizens all over the world are protesting, but we here still have a full stomach and still feel free. Don't forget the release of the COVID virus from Wuhan, and that locked us down. It divided us with the masks, forced compliance with the jabs, and people dying alone. I resented horribly that the elderly had to die alone. How would you like being a mature citizen and you're going to go in your last days and you want your family there and they can't be there? It was the worst inhumane thing that ever happened. And you people need to wake up. I'm a little bit concerned, and I would like to maybe have Mr. Rosenkrantz answer to the fact that Clark County has awarded him a position on a council. I'd like him to speak on that, please. And then I'd also like to have a guardrail on the main road for our schools, children's safety. It's a matter of time when someone will fall into traffic.
Okay, thank
The
you.
new road
Thank you,
near,
Kimberly. You're
okay,
3
thank you.
minutes.
The
All right.
new road near the new middle school does have those, and I'd like to see them all up and down.
Thank you, Kimberly. Clerk, are there any other public comments?
Amy Chase.
Amy Chase, 219 East 4th Street here in the center. I say that again.
Just speak, it is, just, can you pull it up to your mouth a little bit?
Yes. Do you want me to repeat that or did you get it? I'll just start.
You're good.
Okay, I'm here to address the safety concerns I have for the excessive speeding that's going on in 4th, the crosswalks not being, no one is stopping to yield to pedestrians. I walk my grandkids about 3 times a week to and from start and end, and it's ridiculous, honestly. It's very scary, and I will address the guardrail that she proposed. I thought that very same thing, since there's one sidewalk. My daughter witnessed the other day 2 children playing. They're little, they don't understand, the safety. And one was pushed and luckily caught himself, but it was a really close call. And the crossing guard, and she saw and knew that we were just lucky that time that child didn't get in the street. They're narrow. It's the line of sight is terrible. There's a curve both directions. So I got some input from the crossing guard, and I wanted to, she's there every day, twice a day. She said that it's worse from east to west, and there is a curve there, so maybe that's why. She said when she presses her crosswalk button at Stone Creek, it's sometimes 3 cars will go through before they will yield to the children and her sign. I try to cross here. Well, I do cross here every day, and the same thing. People will look right at me and keep going. And no one is going 20 miles per hour in the school zone. Once in a while. And I myself look at my speed and say, oh, it is really hard to keep at 20. It is difficult because you've got the hill, but there's no police presence. I'm going to make a couple suggestions. One parent suggested speed bumps. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but maybe. In Vancouver schools, they actually have a flashing sign that shows the speed of the driver. So as you approach, and I don't have, maybe I'm terrible with distance, 20 feet back maybe, it's flashing if you're going over 20, and it continues to flash and show your speed. That is it's a reminder. I don't know if it's a deterrent if you're going to speed, but if you just forget, it is a good reminder. And I noticed the other day when I drove up Aspen, all the way up past the new development, they have one of those, and I think it's solar powered, going up and coming down, flashing the speed. So it's not probably that expensive of an item. And I would also suggest that they be placed closer to the Stone Creek crosswalk, and maybe at the other high school or middle school as well. So I think I've covered all of that. But then on the flip side of this, I'll turn this over, a positive thing. Little General has expressed interest in a mural on the south side of the building. And I'm going to work with them and try to get that to take place. I've been trying to contact the Mural Society, but I have not had luck. But they have an office. I'll try to go by there maybe tomorrow. And it's proposed to be, there's 3 windows that are boarded up now. And I think that he would like them to be.
Amy, if you can wrap that up, your time is up.
Okay, I'm sorry. They're going to be placed there, but I need the city's support because I don't think there's code for that at this time.
Okay.
So if somebody wants to work with me on that. Okay.
That'd be Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, clerk?
No.
Perfect. Oh,
Okay, I guess there is one.
Hello, this is Andrew Rockwell calling in. Can everyone hear me?
Oh.
Yes, Andrew, could you hold on a minute? We have another comment here in person, then you can speak.
Great, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Steve Headley and I live at 32324 Northwest Pollock Road. What I would like to talk about is the MX code and, some of the items within it. The MX code incorporates 37 acres right on the south side of town over here. And it has been zoned for almost 20 years. That code was written 20 years ago. And obviously 20 years of MX code, which is designed to promote development, and not a single nail has been driven. And so what's really transpired is over the last 5 years, we've had multiple offers on that property. The first developer came in, IDM. They are the largest builder of multifamily in this whole region. They just finished the Acero right next to Rose Hours over there they came, put our property under contract, us and the neighbors. So they had 15 acres under contract. They spent their $30,000 on plans. They come down to the city and obviously through the pre-app conference, within 3 days of that conference, they rescinded their offer and moved on. And so I reached out to Mr. Ott Gaither and I asked him, I said, Ott, I'm really disappointed as you are. Could you please enlighten me as to what was the problem with the MX code that prevented you from doing this development? And he said, Steve, when we came to the city of La Center, we brought the exact same business model that we had presented to Richfield that was accepted. And he said, we use that standard model everywhere. So we've been able to, in the MX codes within Clark County, we have been able to use this business model in Vancouver, Battleground, Richfield, and Camas. And we didn't ask for anything other than what we've received from those cities to the city of La Center. Now, his number one hangup on the MX zoning was density transfer. Now, the 37 acres that this MX zoning sits on up there on the hill, really only about 50% of that footprint is developable property. And so then to limit the density on only 50% of really what's developable is really telling any large builder that it isn't a feasible project here in the center. And so he rescinded his offer and moved on. Me and the neighbor, Tom Broadwater, we tried to amend the code ourselves. We talked with SGA Engineering, you're familiar with those guys. And ultimately, they really came back to us and said, Steve and Tom, that really is not your job to amend the code for the city. They need to take a long, good look at an old code and really start to amend that process themselves. So if we move forward, now we currently have another developer that has this property under contract. And it's kind of a unique situation. I better hurry up here. I only got a few seconds, but so out of that 37 acres, there's 12 property owners. No single property owner holds a large enough parcel to attract a developer. So the only way that property will ever be developed will be multiple sellers. We currently have that situation with 7 of the 12 ready to sell. 6 of those 12 are currently under contract with this new developer. And what they're proposing to put up there is a fantastic development of townhomes lining the hillside in an 100-unit apartment complex. And they had a pre-app with the city, and Todd reached out to me, and they have the exact same concerns.
Okay. Steve, I need you to wrap it up.
Okay, so I will wrap it up. But anyways, so I'm, I've been asked to be part of the community, what do we call that? The CAC, the community, whatever that is. So I'm looking forward to talking with the council and presenting them with I've been in this city for 40 years, and I know the entire history of that hillside and how things transpired to this point. So I'm looking forward to in-depth conversations with the city and what it may take to attract a developer.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. All right, any public comments from those calling in? Please press *6 to unmute yourself, state your name and address.
Hi, this is Andrew Rockwell calling in, and I'm here on behalf of Rodney Peterson off of Northwest Pacific Highway here in the city of La Center. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much for the time. Thank you. I am writing in to express my support for a motion to the City Council to reconsider the MDR 16 zoning ordinance that was discussed on September 27th, 2023. I've kind of tracked this package as the city formulated it, and I've reviewed the meeting from the 27th. And I do think after kind of some further review and kind of reflection on that conversation, I do think that it's clear that there are kind of 2 topics of conversation within that single code ordinance. And I believe those 2 topics are number 1, density transfer, and number 2 being product mix within the MDR 16 code. So I'd like to request that the City Council separate these topics and discuss each of them independently, because I do believe that the topic of density and density transfer is a bit more of a complex and nuanced conversation than what is the more straightforward conversation regarding product mix. And I did mention I'm here on behalf of Rodney and Kathy Peterson, who live along Northwest Pacific Highway in La Center. And we are collectively in the process of submitting for a residential subdivision that is complying with the city's development codes and the MDR 16 code. However, we are experiencing some difficulty with the code's multifamily requirements. As of today, the MDR 16 code consists of 5 or more gross acres, may not include more than 75% of one housing type, whether that be multifamily, single family attached, or single family detached. And as we know, the development's gross acreage is not exclusively just towards home area. You have to back out new roads and sidewalks, open space, parks, tree retention, all of those good things, and it leaves you with your net acreage. And so when we analyze that for our property, it has provided some difficulties, and we are in support of the city's proposed code amendment, which would raise the multifamily mixing product from 5 acres to 10 acres. And why I say that and why we're in support of it is because it would allow for kind of a seamless transition between the Riverside Estates development and what would be the Peterson subdivision here. And it would kind of keep the same single family product. It wouldn't provide any kind of immediate multifamily product change in that area. And so kind of just in summary, what I am once again here asking for is that the council make a motion to reconsider the code on October 25th. And hopefully we can separate the two topics and discuss them each independently, because I think that'll be a greater level of focus. So thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any public comments from those calling in? Please press *6 to unmute yourself. State your name and address. All right. Are there any public comments to be read?
Yes, from the man who just entered, Al Philla. All right, sounds good.
We should apply.
Al Philla, 152 West 15th Street. Well, it's getting that time of year. We're looking for, the American Legion Post 189 is looking for flags to dispose of. So if anybody's got any, I haven't got any from some person. Let's see, I can't remember who it was, but he's sitting there in a white shirt. You know, he should have some by now. So either turn them into me or, you know, any other Legion members, or bring them down to City Hall, and we'll be glad to dispose of them. Thank you, and God bless America.
Al, I bought good American flags this last round, and they're still lasting. Thank you, though. Thanks, Al. Is there any other public comments to be read, clerk?
There are none.
All right, thank you. Consent agenda. If there are no requests for items to be removed, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain.
Abstain.
Motion passes. Thank you, council. We do have a presentation tonight. This will be Chris Olsen's retirement badge presentation. Chief Richardson will be presenting. Thank you.
Sorry, I think it's a lot, Chris. We'll stand over here so that we remember back to each other or to anybody else. Again, my name is Bob Richardson. I'm the police chief here in the city of La Center. Chris Olsen retired here in March of 2003 after 21 years of service with our city. If you didn't know about Chris, he was an Air Force veteran. He served in the Air Force 1991 to 1993. He was hired by the city of La Center by Tim Hopkins, who was the chief here back in January of 2002, and he was actually sworn in by Mayor Ayers. It was the council meeting? Nope. Which mayor? The Cerveny. Oh, okay. February 1st of 2002. So, okay. So we got that so far. You were promoted to sergeant in January of 2006. And you got your bachelor's degree in 2014. Okay, good. You know, you remembered yourself. That's good. Because I had to read all this stuff and try to put it to memory. Anyway, one of the honors and one of the traditions police departments have is when you retire, we give you a retirement badge. And these retirement badges are custom made. And like everything else in the world now, when you order something and they tell you it's going to be here in 2 months, don't believe it. It takes a lot. Apparently, maybe these are made in China like everything else, but it's a beautiful badge. And on behalf of the community and our residents, I just want to present this badge to you for your dedicated and faithful service to the city of La Center.
I just want to say thank you. I was really blessed to be here. When I was hired in 2002, Chief Hopkins made it very clear that family was involved. Even when she probably won't appreciate me telling this story, but even when I graduated the academy, the mayor came to my graduation and very kindly bought my entire family dinner that night. And I have a large family, so that was no small feat, and it's always been a very fond memory of mine. No, I've been blessed to serve here. I've met good people, and I've been able to do something I've been passionate about since I was a small child. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I hope to carry it on at some time.
I would say to enjoy retirement, but you're still wearing a uniform. And we will be seeing you shortly.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is our 2024 preliminary budget public hearing. Senior Accountant Riley Barbera will be presenting the 2024 preliminary budget. Riley?
All right. I want to start out by thanking everybody that's helped me put this together. It's definitely not all me. So big thanks to the Budget Advisory Committee, all the department heads that helped with their own portions of it, and big help to Brian with his capital projects, and everybody else that's helped me kind of along the way. So there's a lot of information in here, and so I'm just going to kind of cover the highlights. Really, there's just too much to really look at in the amount of time we have, and I don't think anybody really wants to. So you're just going to have to kind of look at it a bit more on your own time. The good news is we've got a bunch more of these to do before it's finally passed. So if you don't have all your questions nailed down, you can catch me on the next one, which I'm sure will be in not too long. But just stop me if you have any questions in the meantime, need any clarification, anything like that. And we're going to go ahead and hit the highlights, which is mainly the big changes from year to year, because we see we do these things all the time, and I guess it's kind of boring to talk about. So starting out, I guess I'll kind of go over the format briefly real quick. Far left column is that 2022 actual, so that's what really happened last year. This 2023 year to date, that's of August 31st. I just copied this from the last presentation I did rather than put together a whole new one. So those YTD numbers are a little out of date, but not too far off. Then we've got what our budget actually was this year and what we're projecting to do this year. It's not necessarily as in-depth of an analysis in our projections as some of my other presentations, but it's good to have that there for illustrative purposes. And then we've got our proposed budget or our preliminary budget for next year, and then to kind of change in between what we have in next year's budget and what we had this year. So to start out with the taxes, the property taxes, we've got about $53 million in new construction this year. That's the preliminary guess, but it's still quite a bit. You see all the houses going up. So overall, we're looking at somewhere maybe $690,000, $700,000 in property taxes this year or next year. So most of this increase is due to new houses. It's not we're charging you a ton more. We still got that 1% limit, and you guys still have to vote on that. But that's what that change is. Our card rooms, they're down a little bit compared to last year and what our hopes were this year. You'll see a lot of these 2023 projections and 2024 budgets are pretty close to each other. That's because a lot of our projections are based on what's been happening this year. So we're looking at about $1.3 million there next year. Looking at the licenses and permits and the charges for goods and services, these are often looked at kind of together because the majority of this is based on construction. So I've spent a good bit of time with Brian looking at how many houses, how much we're looking to build next year. And right now we have what we think is a fairly conservative estimate of 100 single family residences going in next year. And that is going to result in quite a bit of building permits and some plan review fees. So quite a bit of revenue coming in there. You'll see that these state shared revenues are significantly lower than what we had this year, what we had in the past few years. That's not because we're getting less revenue. That's because we're finally breaking out our roads and streets funds. So there's a few taxes we get: the motor vehicle fuel tax, multimodal tax. Those used to just go into the general fund, and we're going to transfer them out at the end of this year for what we got in 2023. And moving forward, those are all just going to go straight into the roads and streets fund. There's some pretty complicated stuff going on later on in this that kind of shows how that's all going to shake out, but that's the gist of it. We're not losing money here, but it's just going into a different spot. So overall, we're looking at pretty consistent revenues, between 2022, 2023, 2024. You see that high 4.9 of 2022, but there was, nearly $500,000 of ARPA funds in there. So realistically, even though, if gambling taxes are down but some things are up, we've been staying pretty consistent year to year at about, 4.3, 4.4 million in the general fund. These notes on the next page are more or less what I just said, so feel free to read through them at your own leisure. And then moving on to all the departments in the general fund. Starting out with the finance department, not just because I'm in it, but just because how things are numbered in our system. We're going to have a new full-time employee in there next year. That's what the majority of this increase in the budget is. That will be an outreach coordinator is our tentative title. We don't have that all exactly fleshed out yet, but they're going to be helping us with events and a liaison to reach out to outside groups and help everything kind of get coordinated there. So still working on the exact job description and job title, but that is a big majority of that increase there for salaries next year. We also have $29,000 for a budget next year, every 2 years. Oh yeah, sorry. $29,000 for an audit next year. Every 2 years, we get an audit over our financial statements. So that's a lot of fun for me, not because we're in trouble, it's just because the state's making sure that we're using your money correctly. But other than that, not a whole lot of change between last year and this year. On to the legislative department. This is my error, but I had not included one of the new categories in here. So right now it says 250 in there. That's actually going to be about 307. There was $4,800 a month for a federal lobbyist. I think that came through in a council meeting recently, and that just had not made its way into my spreadsheet yet. In addition to that, there's also going to be $38,000 for a state lobbyist and $70,000 in grant writing expenses. So actually quite a bit of differences between last year and this year in this department. Municipal court, the bulk of this one is just our contract we have with the city of Battleground because they run our municipal court services. And it's going to be down quite a bit for what we're getting billed. And that's because I think they do a 3-year rolling average of what we're actually using them. And so since the last few years have been quite a bit lower than years past, that's dropping quite a bit from 122 down to 85. So presumably once we get the police force ramped up, no longer in COVID times anymore, that'll start creeping back up again. But in the meantime, we get to enjoy a bit of a discount there. You also see the jail costs are up. That's not necessarily because we're getting charged more. That's just because I kind of found some instances of, oh, this actually made its way into a different account. We get billed by Clark County for a whole bunch of different things, and sometimes things sneak into different places. On to the police department. We're still in negotiations on how that whole contract is going to work out, but for now, we're still using that approximately $1.1 million dollar amount that we had gotten from their presentation in there. In addition to that, there's going to be about $130,000 in a few other expenses. The biggest one is that about $47,000 for Cressa, $20,000 for insurance, and about $25,000 just to keep the building open, utility fees and things like that. On to the community development department. This is another employee that we're adding to our roster next year. Code enforcement, and that'll be a part-time position. That'll be for situations where we don't really need a police officer there, but for kind of some smaller matters. I don't think we have the full description and everything written out yet, but that's a working thing that we're going to have. We're hoping to have a code enforcement person next year. Other than that, not a whole bunch of changes. There was a decrease in exegy, and this year we're also going to have an iWork project. I think that got brought up recently, but that's kind of a one-time thing that won't be included in next year's budget. On to Public Works. This is the one with the most employees in it, other than our police in the past, but we've got about 5.7, and that 0.7 is because pretty much all of our employees spend time in multiple different departments, sometimes even different funds. So I don't think that's any additions from this year. It's going to have about the same roster. You'll see that transfer out. We've got $110,000 for this year and $120,000 for next year. This is going to be discussed a little in more detail later on, but this is essentially things that are roads and streets related that were previously done in the Public Works Department that are now just going to be done in that roads and streets fund. So again, it's not new revenues, it's not new expenditures. They're just being recorded in a different fund moving forward. And then if you saw Brian's report on our capital projects, one of those was the asphalt ceiling for the trails. That $10,000 is actually going to come out of the park operations as a kind of maintenance project, not the capital projects fund. And on to the general fund combined total. When this was first written, we had about a $60,000 surplus total on the year. And then I realized I forgot to put that federal lobbyist in there, so that cuts it down to about $3,000, but we are still at a surplus for now. So we all worked pretty hard and trying to get the budget to get it out of having a deficit going into next year. So we're all kind of proud of that. Of course, our revenues and expenses never exactly line up, but we're still thinking we should be pretty solid going into next year. Any questions or comments before I move on to the various other funds? All right. So the reserve fund, as you see, we have a budgeted surplus this year and a budgeted surplus next year, so we won't need to dip into this reserve fund. I think a reserve policy is to have 1 year's of expenses from the general fund in here, and so we're looking to be at about $4.3 million in this fund, which is 1 year's expenses in the general fund. So we're looking good there. On to the impact fees. This has been traffic impact fees, park impact fees, and school impact fees. So now that we're moving things over to this roads and streets fund, this is more or less just going to be the park impact fees fund moving forward, because traffic impact fees will be on into that new fund. And since the school impact fees just kind of come in and go right back out, there's no sense in really making a separate fund just for them. So at the end of this year, we're going to be transferring the balance of, there's right now about $4 million, $5 million in the impact fees fund, and about 4.3 million of that are traffic impact fees that have been yet to be spent. So those are going to be transferred out into the roads and streets fund at the end of this year. And so for the park impact fees coming in, those are still somewhat being sold. One of those developers has a lot of credits, so people that are building can kind of buy those credits, but we're still not saying everybody buy those for whatever reason. So we're still going to expect to see a few of those coming in next year.
I have a quick question. How come the school impact fees in 2024 budget is so high? Is it because are they on like a, do they?
So it's a fixed amount. And so we are just looking at, so we had 100 single family residences, what we have billed. And I believe those are 3,501 a pop. So 100 single family residences times 3,500 is $350,000. And then we just send those right to the school the second we get them. So that's not actually our money to play around with.
And then if you notice, it's actually significantly less than what we're going to receive this year.
Yeah.
It's about half of what we'll receive this year.
Yeah, and that's why we're thinking that that 100 number for single family residences next year is kind of, we're a little conservative on that, because if things keep going as they have been, we should be seeing quite a bit. There's potentially more that could be coming in, but I think we'll be getting a good number in next year.
There were conversations of a lot higher numbers, but we wanted to drop them down quite a bit just to make sure that we were more on target.
Okay, thanks.
And so for the projects that are done out of this fund, we'll go over those in a minute after we go through the capital projects fund, because it's just kind of too much information to fit all on this one page. So on to the capital projects fund. We've seen our real estate excise tax. That's that REIT line at the top. It hasn't quite met our expectations despite us building so much stuff. It seems like the homes are being built, but they're not selling as fast as we had thought. I'm pretty sure that's just has to do with the interest rates these days. So we're still looking at, we're going to use this year's averages for that prediction going into next year. It's hard to say how that will all shake out, though. It seems like there's plenty of stock to be sold. So this will also have a transfer to the roads and streets fund. So we have funds that used to be in both general fund, impact fees fund, and capital projects fund are all now kind of being merged into this one spot. So this fund as well will start to see quite a bit less activity in the future because a lot of the big stuff we do is related to those roads and streets projects. So here is a quick look at the big projects that we had for the impact fees and capital projects that were slated for 2023. A lot of these happen in big chunks, so even if we're at $0 spent so far, we're still expecting them to get done. Brian and I have gone through this a couple times, so looking to get quite a bit accomplished this year. I think we've got both of those in the impact fees fund and quite a bit of the capital projects done as well. And a lot of them are just pushed on to next year if we're not getting them done this year. On to next year's capital projects. I'm sure you guys have all seen Brian's presentation on that. He goes through a lot more detail and he explains it all a lot better. So if you have any questions, probably the best thing to do is look back at his presentation, or you can ask him right now. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to have some questions. One notable change in here is the street sweeper. I think that was at $75,000 was our original estimate. We're now looking at $50,000, I think is our estimate, and it's only $25,000 here in the vehicle and equipment fund, and the other half of that will be paid by the street or the stormwater fund. That's because it's kind of shared by both of those. It's, if you're doing street work and also doing stormwater work, it's kind of the same thing. So there's going to be a 50-50 split there. And then you'll see the majority of these projects next year are going to be in this new roads and streets fund. So the vehicle and equipment fund, we're still working out a great funding policy for that, of how we do our transfers kind of more incrementally rather than when they're needed. But next year is just the mower and the street sweeper, and there's funds in there to cover it. So we're not planning on transferring anything new over there for now. But we'll kind of work on that in future projects. All right, the roads and streets fund. This doesn't look like it makes much sense because honestly, it's kind of hard to show what's really happening in here. As I'd mentioned, there's activity that was previously just recorded in all these different funds that's now going to be taking place in these roads and street funds. And so to some degree, the revenues that we get in that are related to roads and streets specific, things like that motor vehicle fuel tax or traffic impact fees, they don't cover what we actually spend on roads and streets. We get some money in that's earmarked for that. We actually spend quite a bit more. So for the big projects, if we don't have enough to cover those, we'll have it transferred in from some of our residual balances from the capital projects fund. We won't have to transfer anything else that's TIF eligible in because we've got TIF money to spend, but we will be transferring some in this year, and then some coming from the general fund as well. So the big non-project related revenues expenses we have are those three state share taxes at the top, and then we have some salaries and benefits that were previously in public works. Same with that roads and streets maintenance, and the first four lines on the expense side, those are all ones that were previously done in the general fund. To kind of show you a little bit better at how this is working, but it's still kind of complicated. I'm figuring it all out myself. These next three kind of show just the transfers that we have projected for 2023. And in theory, they should be showing a pretty good idea of what's happening in here. So from the general fund, we're looking to get about $79,000 in this year, but we were going to be spending around 110. So we're going to have transfer that 79,000 we got in plus an additional to get it up to about $110,000 to cover that from the general fund. And assuming there's no drastic changes, it'll be about the same amount next year. I think we have it slated at 120. For the traffic impact fees, we're going to be looking to get about 100 or 1.5 million in traffic impact fees this year. Again, construction has been booming, and one of our TIF eligible projects also had some grant revenue along with it. We got both those projects. I think we're going to be getting done this year, and then we're going to be moving over that balance of from previous years of traffic impact fees that have been kind of accumulating until we have a good project to spend them on. So in total, about $4.3 million going in from the impact fees fund. And then finally, not all of our big capital projects were covered by grants. A lot of them are, but not all of them. So there'll be some additional money that's transferred out from the capital projects fund at the end of this year to cover all of those projects. So in theory, next year, this will all look a lot cleaner and will kind of make a bit more sense. And we're still kind of seeing how it's all going to shake out. But I think it's all going to be good. It's going to clean up my reporting at the end of the year because I have to do a roads and streets report that we give to the state that shows how much we get in and how much we spend on roads and streets fund to making sure that we're spending our money appropriately. Any questions on that before I move on to the sewer stormwater? And if you want to take some more time to read it and ask me at the next one, I get it. I don't expect you to get this all just from reading my report without me talking about it.
Yeah, we'd be here all night.
All right, on to the sewer operations. Not a whole lot of changes in this one. Still the same number of full-time employees. Really, the most volatile thing in this one is the transfers out. We still send in $400,000 a year to the general fund to cover that interfund loan debt. And then there's also a transfer every year to the sewer capital fund to kind of fund these projects. And that really changes every year depending on what kind of projects we have coming up. So you'll see that was $1 million last year, down to $700,000 this year. And down to 550 next year. But that's really the big driver of the big expenditure changes in this one. You'll see that we didn't have some of these things budgeted for 2023 that we do have budgeted for next year. The inspections and I guess the inspections is really the only one. But since we've had, those used to be pretty immaterial. Now that we're building a lot more homes, it's kind of worth actually calling out in the budget. Our biosolids processing, that's expected to increase a bit next year. And we're budgeting our sewer charges based on what we've been seeing for an average so far this year. Now, of course, if all these homes get built and sold, those will go up. But as we kind of saw this year, they're being built faster than they're selling. So we're not going to quite bank on that revenue just yet. The sewer capital fund, Brian had already gone over all of the big projects we have coming out of this one. And so the only thing that's really going into that is a transfer from the sewer fund. And then we've got this list of projects here. The sewer debt service fund, this was paid to pay back that Public Works Trust Fund loan. And so the money comes in the form of these sewer development charges. So 100 single family residences. And then that Minute Hotel that we're expecting to complete next year will bring in another 50 of those sewer development charges. So this one has been bringing in quite a bit of revenue. And we had some discussions at the budget advisory meeting of how this money should be used, right? Because we have enough to pay back that Public Works Trust Fund loan at this point. And we've decided that we're going to wait for that the sewer plan update that's on the capital projects list for next year. Once that's done, we'll have a better idea of should we start accelerating our payments back to the general fund? Should we wait until we have, the money to really expand our sewer system? So in the meantime, the money's just going to sit in there. We're reinvesting it at the time because pretty good bond returns right now. And then finally, the stormwater. So again, we used our 2023 projections is pretty much right on the money for a 2024 budget. That's because we're looking at it kind of historically for those. No shakeups in our salaries and benefits or really anything other than a couple of these big projects we have. So $25,000 is half of a new street sweeper. And then that storm pipelining project is $100,000. And I think that's just for the next year's portion of the expenditures. I think we're going to see some more in 2025 to finish up that project as well. And that's what we got. Questions, comments?
Take it home to study.
No questions?
I mean, thank you, Riley. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work in that. Some people may or may not know that I was on the budget advisory committee, and I was actually asked by Mayor Thornton originally, and I did not think that I was the best candidate for this, but just being honest. And but it's been pretty enlightening to be on this committee to see what all goes into, the city's budget. It's vastly complicated, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I just want to say, from I'm here to represent you guys, and I'm doing my best, and I've learned a lot. But if people have any questions or comments or concerns, I mean, feel free to email me or whatever. Talk to me just so I can maybe catch something that I don't see or anything. So thank you, Riley, and everybody else that was on that committee as well.
Thank you.
Before we open the public hearing, I just wanted to give you a timeline of what this looks like. So at the next meeting, October 25th, we'll do our revenue hearing with our levy increase. And then November 15th, we will do our budget hearing. And then we'll do public hearing tonight.
All right. So no other questions for Riley?
Thanks, Riley.
Thank you, Riley. Great report. This is a public hearing. So at this time, 7:19, I would like to open up the public hearing. Are there any public comments from the audience? If so, please step up, state your name, address, and stick to the topic at hand. Al, you're not coming up? All right. Okay. Any public hearing comments from those calling in, please press *6 to unmute yourself, state your name and address, and stick to the topic. No, none. Are there any comments to be read, clerk?
There are not.
Okay. I'll give it one more minute. Seeing as how there's no comments to be read, or callers calling in, or anybody coming up at this point, I'd like to close it. The time is 7:21. Is there any comments from council?
No, I would just like to reiterate what Sean said. Thank you to all of our staff and the people that volunteered on the advisory committee. They did a great job.
Ditto. Thank you, everyone. It's labor intensive and brain intensive, but I think it's well worth it to really roll up your sleeves and learn more about how the city operates and how we put together the budget. It's not as easy as one would think, and a lot of thought and input goes into it, and very professional and very helpful advice from our staff, and I really respect that, and thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, council. Thank you again, Riley. Great report. Next up is staff reports. Mayor's report. I'd like to thank the Meals on Wheels crew. I actually attended their meal, I think 2 Thursdays ago, if I remember correctly. I know my brain's not functioning tonight. It was a great event. There was a lot of great people there. People were happy, really enjoying themselves. And it looked like everyone was enjoying the food and the kitchen. Brian, you guys did a great job. You and Tony did a really, really good job on that kitchen. So it was really nice to see. I do have a police update that I have not shared as of yet. We have received a contract, and we will be working on that this week so that you guys know, council and residents. And I also have a correction on my last statement. I think it was on the Council for the Homeless back at the last meeting. So when I attend these meetings, they usually put like what you see up on TVs there with the numbers and such. And so the numbers that were up there were the numbers I reported to you guys at the last meeting. And it was a higher number than what Ridgefield was for the city of La Center. Alexis from the Columbian actually was doing an article about us talking about ordinances along with the county at the same time. And she reached out to the Council for the Homeless and they said, oh, we're so sorry. Those numbers were transposed. They were wrong. So
Interesting.
I just want to apologize to anybody that was unknown until I spoke to Alexis. The numbers are still quite high and concerning for a city. And if you'd like to know those numbers, you can go to their website, the Council for the Homeless. And that brings us into the next part of my comments here. There will be a work session October 25th at 5:30 p.m. and Council for the Homeless will be here. And also, Brian, is it the Waste Management or who else on that one?
It'll be the County Department of Public Health and Solid Waste Group.
There we go. So there is a work session involving both of those two entities, 5:30 p.m. on the 25th. I'd also, actually the city would like to thank Amy Chase for taking care of the planters boxes through the seasons. Next up, the attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things. One is last meeting, I talked about a case that was Johnson versus City of Grants Pass on restrictions on the city's ability to regulate camping. And I looked around on the Supreme Court's schedule to trying to find out when there might be an indication if they're going to accept review of that case. And it looks like in late December or early January, we'll know whether or not the Supreme Court's going to accept that case. Otherwise, like the mayor said, this morning we got a draft of the police services agreement from the tribe, and we're going through that, and we'll be responding to it in short order.
Bronson, wasn't there also something that not just Boise, but it was Grants Pass, right? On those, there was both cases that they were talking about.
Yeah, the other case was the case out of Boise, Martin versus City of Boise. That case in 2022, the Supreme Court declined review of that case. Okay. So they can't review that one. That's over.
All right. And there were 20 attorney generals that signed on urging people to look at this, or the Supreme Court to take this case up, along with Governor Newsom from California.
That's right.
I read, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any questions for the city attorney? All right. Thank you, Bronson. Next up is council comments. Councilmember Fox.
Hello, good evening. I have a little bit of a lot to say tonight. First off, I just want to say congratulations to the La Center 7th grade Hawks football team. They won the championship tonight. My son's on the team, so I'm partial to being excited, but yeah, so very excited for that. So just wanted everybody to know. Also, I just want to thank the city for the reflective strips coming down the hill. They're very nice. That just adds such a nice touch with that dark canyon there. Just it's great. So thank you. And also that trailer that's been there. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure you guys are on that. So thank you. Also, I just want to say Chris Olsen left, but I just want to say thank you to him for all of his years of service. We couldn't be more blessed to have someone like him protecting our beautiful city. So just thank you so much to him, and look forward to continue working with him and his current, yeah, I was going to say try, but that sounded kind of funny. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, and thank you to Amy Chase. I was going to also say that as well, for taking care of all the planters all these years. I see you many mornings walking down the sidewalk with jugs of water, and it's so nice. So thank you, and look forward to seeing how Little General turns out, and always making your properties look nice. But I definitely agree with you on the crossing guard situation. I'm worried as it gets dark. I mean, I love what the training has been doing out there. You know, I can tell they're, stopping traffic, letting stuff come through. But I worry because people are in a hurry in the morning. They got to get to work, and they left late, and now at what cost, and especially if you have a substitute cross guard, somebody who doesn't know it that well, it is concerning, especially since we're doing the different start times. Those little kids are mostly walking, maybe more by themselves, maybe not with their older sibling like they maybe did before. So I just think that over time, yeah, we need to create some change over that by, flashing speedometer, something like that. I'm definitely think that that's important for that area. Also, in regards to all the density transfer conversation, I think that it would be really important for us as a council to have some more time to talk about that. I feel like there's a lot that maybe some of us, new people really need to kind of get educated on small things. I mean, I'm happy to do my own research, but I feel like there's a lot of this that's going to come up. And I think for us as a council to get together to be able to talk about really what we want out of this and what that looks like for the land that we have and how that's going to look. So I would love to, be able to come. Maybe we can come in at 5 on the 25th and talk that out. That would be awesome because I think that that's really important. Iron out some kinks there. So anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, we are aware of the trailer out on the gravel lot, and we are addressing it.
Oh, my
Someone charge him fees. Councilmember Kasberg.
Good evening. Thanks for coming in tonight. It's good to see some new faces here. I don't have a whole lot. We had a tornado in town today. Did everybody see that? So it doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of damage. That was good. A few years ago when we had the one in Battleground, the chief and I were both working in that day, and there was some fairly significant damage during that one. So I think we got lucky here today. So, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Boyle.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a whole lot tonight. Again, just reiterate about the budget. If you have any questions, let me be your voice. We can try and work through this stuff. Like I said, I thank everybody that put in their time and hard work. Gosh, I know, yeah, Halloween's coming up. Thank you, Jim. I think that was a great idea, what you brought up about putting a committee together of, citizens along with some sort of law enforcement to help with Halloween and whatnot. And I know that I think that the PTO is going to be having a creature crawl coming up. Don't know what date that is, but maybe somebody can tell us before it happens. Yeah, other than that, weather's changing quick, and Melissa's knocking bugs off of me. But anyways, thank you. Have a good.
Thank you. Councilmember Leija.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming this evening. I've had a great time the last couple of weeks volunteering at Meals on Wheels. It's a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying talking to all the people that come in. Yesterday, I attended an ECHO meeting, which is Ending Community Homelessness Organization. And the whole hour and a half, they did talk about the lack of daycare. There are people that are homeless that if they get a job, they need daycare for their children. So it's a huge problem. Also, I want to say on Saturday, there was a wonderful fall market. Willow and Fern, one of our new little shops above the Chevron station, just have a lot of fun things going on. It's a neat little gift shop. I encourage everybody to check it out. But they had a special, they sent out some flyers, and it was a wonderful little market. All kinds of fun little gifts items there for sale. So I encourage people to keep your eye on that market and spend some money there. So we bring revenue into the town, into our city. Also, I want to give a congratulations to Peter Rosenkrantz. The Law and Justice Council is established by law to help coordinate activities of the local criminal justice agencies and develop a community corrections plan for local and state corrections services in the county. There was a good article about it in the paper here a couple of weeks ago and also a month ago. And they were requesting people apply that are school superintendents. And so Peter Rosenkrantz applied for that, and he got the position. So I congratulate him on that. And the last thing I would like to say is, Mayor Strobin, I move to reconsider Ordinance 2023-12, amending the MDR 16 code, and request that the staff bring the ordinance back to public hearing at the next October 25th meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. We need to do that in the new business.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I got ahead of myself. Sorry.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cerveny.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Thanks for coming once again. This wonderful downpour and cold, wet fall weather we've had and tornado. I just have a couple of things to bring to your attention to help get the word spread. The Center United has the emergency preparedness workshop rescheduled, and it will be on the 21st. So you can look at La Center United's Facebook page or their website and get more information. But please pass the word and get folks there. You can register online. And that will help everybody be more prepared if we should have a tornado or any other kind of issue in town. The second thing is that they are also scheduling youth mental health first aid course, and it is on the 21st, also 9 to 4 p.m. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. So two great things that will help parents and any individual that interacts with our youth in the schools and better understand the issues that they're challenged with and know what to look for as far as depression, suicide, and any of those types of substance abuse issues that many of the kids, followed the wrong person down the wrong path for a while. And it takes all of us as a village to bring them back and give them the help that they need and someone that they can trust and someone will listen to them in a non-judgmental fashion. So thank you for that. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Okay, we do have staff reports tonight, or one staff report. Brian Cast will be presenting the Public Works and Community Development staff report. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. We've been busy in the Public Works Department here. We've wrapped up our crack sealing project for the year. And as Councilor Fox mentioned, we also, while we had the crack sealer out, replaced the pavement markings on La Center Road with new reflective ones to replace the ones that had come off over the last year. In the park side, our crew, you may notice there was a bunch of irrigation work going on over at Sternwheeler Park with a big area torn up. That work has now been completed and reseeded. The stormwater side, we are working with property owners on tree trimming notices so that we have adequate clearance for our current and next year new sweeper to get through and be able to sweep along the curbs without damaging trees.
Hey, Brian, what
Yes.
kind of notice are they getting on on that?
I believe we are doing door hangers on that.
Okay.
So our public works crew has been basically out there, and wherever they identify that there's a tree that's hanging up the sweeper, we're notifying those residents of how best to prune the tree, and we kind of save that till this time of year when it's a good time for tree pruning to take place.
When I lived in the city of Vancouver, the home that I owned there, they had put some sort of notice out, but I don't remember it being super adequate amount of time to take care of like the amount of tree trimming that they did. And I remember coming home one day and to be quite shocked by my tree virtually decimated. But so I just, I have sympathy to those people that, hopefully we can do our best to get in contact with them if we are going to be doing some major trimming.
Sure. Yeah, and we generally, the first process is to work with them to educate them on how high to trim the tree and how best to do it so that they can do it themselves. Yeah. On the wastewater side, the plant's running smoothly and all parameters are inside of our permit limits. And staff down there have been continuing to work on preventative maintenance, most recently on the generators, both at the plant and all of our lift stations and other city facilities. So we have done some preventative maintenance and also quarterly emergency generator testing and operation. We've also been focusing on the safety aspect with our safety committee revitalized here in the last couple of months. Public Works and the wastewater group worked this last month on lockout tagout training and also first aid, CPR, and flagger training. On the engineering side, we are working on a Safe Routes to School grant that we have obtained for the intersection at 4th Street in Highland, which is right there by the elementary school. We received just over $1 million for that portion of the overall 4th Street project. And we have to have that project complete by end of 2025, early 26. So we are actually going to be breaking that project out as its own separate little project, separate from the bridge and the other work. In addition to the what will be a signal with pedestrian push button crossings for children and pedestrians to cross there, it also includes a speed limit radar speed sign and some additional school zone flashers. So hopefully that starts to address some of the comments that we received earlier tonight. And we're working right now on right-of-way acquisition for that project with the school district and one or two private property owners.
Hey, Brian, is there a finalized plan for that traffic revision? Like, is it like basically as soon as we?
Yeah, so we have 100% design plans for it. It was actually, like I mentioned, part of the overall 4th Street corridor project originally. And our hope was to use these Safe Routes to School funds as a part of the overall funding for that, $16 million project. We ended up not getting a federal grant that we were hoping that would fund the majority of that project. So just based on grant timelines, and this one in particular, we're breaking out the intersection as its own sort of pre-project, like a phase 1 sort of thing.
Yeah. So the design is complete and finalized?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm just kind of curious, like, about the functionality of it. I mean, right now, I don't think that that 4-way intersection is control. There's no traffic control there right now.
It's a 2-way stop.
Yeah. And so I guess I just would like to, I don't know, maybe it was probably already done in a previous council meeting. So, but it'd be nice to kind of know what's going to be going in there just because there has been so much concern about it.
Sure. Yeah, we can coordinate. I know back, before I was here with the city, there was a lot of discussion about roundabout versus signal, and a lot of discussion and work went into that. Ultimately, we ended up with the signal. And in my experience working with both, in this particular case, I think the signal will work better for pedestrians. Roundabouts are good for traffic flow, but they're challenging for pedestrian crossings. And with this being a real key intersection with all the schools, high school, elementary school, it's going to work well in the footprint that we have and for all the pedestrian traffic that we see through there.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it seems like the best fix, I think. But I just think about with the growth that we've had in more houses and stuff going out of town, younger children, knowing how to use and operate, crosswalks and whatnot. But I'm sure it'll be a learning curve for everybody.
Absolutely. And
a lot of that stuff's automatic now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Versus, okay.
Yeah. And we'll also be able to program the signal to preempt. So when bus traffic's trying to leave the site, all at once, that they're able to freely flow out. So.
Are you saying that people don't know how to use a crosswalk? I'm a little confused.
I'm talking about kids.
Okay.
I'm saying about kids being able, like young children walking from elementary school out of town to the new housing development.
If they grow up in La Center, they won't know how to use the.
And sorry, we don't have any streetlights in this town right now, so
they have to practice somewhere. I mean,
We have lots of streetlights.
It'll be a great learning
Councilmember,
opportunity.
we don't have a lot of stoplights.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, on to the building side. We have received final occupancy for the community center kitchen, so we're excited to have that project pretty well wrapped up and under use now. And we've also been seeing a lot of work going on over at the high school stadium. They have their mechanical and framing inspections complete. They're in drywall and making rapid progress out there, so we love to see that. And then finally, our development activity here, we are at 84 new single-family homes to date this year, and 265 permits overall. And then just to address a couple things that came up here. Yes, we did have a tornado, no damage, but it was officially confirmed by National Weather Service this afternoon as a tornado. So that's exciting, I guess. And that trailer out at the gravel parking lot, we have tagged, and we'll be able to remove it tomorrow afternoon. So happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian?
Thank you.
No more traffic control questions.
When was the last tornado in La Center? It was like, we've had one, little ones, like little just, that started and it went away. We had one like 5-6 years ago. You remember? Now everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. No, we did.
I only remember the battleground one. I think they followed
it was
the
like
chief around
super
here.
small and it just, formed. Yeah, Amy. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't remember the time. Wasn't it over by Holly Park? Oh, how funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I thought we'd had one before. Yeah. I think, yeah, we made the,
All right, thank you.
1972.
oh, that wasn't, no, it wasn't. That was only the most recorded one, maybe.
All right, that brings up,
I
let's
wasn't
see,
born then, sorry.
council, is there any unfinished business? All right. Council, is there any new business?
Yay, I get to talk now. Mayor Strobman, I move to reconsider ordinance 2023-12, amending the MDR 16 code and request that staff bring the ordinance back to a public hearing at the meeting October 25th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
And just,
Oh,
we'd have to do a 10-day public notice. And is that all set up for the 25th? Good, great. Yeah, I just want to make sure we could do it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. Thank you, council. We will be bringing that back October 25th. That concludes the meeting tonight. Can I get in a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you, council.